Hello, Dojo family. I'm here coming to you from Turkey, and I've been spending a really magical few days here in a town called Akyaka.
Yes.
Akyaka. And I'm here with my dear sister, Satya Lights. And we've been journeying together as friends for many years. And over this last year, she's taken what I think safely name a pilgrimage home and reconnected with a lot of intention to the place that she was born, to her roots. And after spending some really deep time together over the last few days, I feel genuinely a significant shift in her being. This is the first time I've seen Satya since the last time I saw her, which was during a name change ceremony that she initiated for herself. She claimed her chosen name and then moved home, moved to Turkey, to her land of origins. And we talk so much about our roots and how important it is to get into right relation with our roots. And today on this episode, I really want to explore what that actually means. And I feel like Satya is the perfect woman to take us on that journey. And so with that, I'd love to introduce you to Satya Lights. And Satya, I'd love for you to just share a couple words around yourself, what's inspiring you most right now, and what's your highest expression and excitement on the planet right now in terms of how you serve up your gifts.
So first of all, thank you for having me on your podcast, and blessings and greetings to all the Dojo family. So I'm Satya Lights, and I go with multi there's so many things, but I would like to choose an artist for myself, actually, taking so many different titles, and at the end, I think that all encompassing is a healing artist for myself. And these days, what's really exciting me is to really connecting to my heart and exploring what it really means to actually touching people's hearts through my heart. And I'm doing it with doing that, and actually exploring that through so many different areas, with my work, with groups and one-on-one, and with my family, friends, everybody, really. So yeah.
It's such a simple and powerful way to distill what it is that you're excited about doing on the planet at this time. To just simply say, and for everyone listening, y'all know I love to create a ceremonial and highly intentional field for us to learn and grow together through the transmissions that come through our dojo guests. And so for yourself in this moment, I would love for you to tune in. I would love for you to tune into your own heart. And could you imagine creating a life for yourself where you could truly say that the highest excitement in the way that you touch the planet at this time is to keep your heart open and connect to the hearts of others in a way that heals them, in a way that inspires them, and through your own unique heart wisdom, the intelligence of your heart. And so much of what you shared there strikes me because of the simplicity of it. Now, I know about Satya and the many multidisciplinary pathways that she has walked down. And I'm sure we'll get into many of those, but including many years in deep dietas on the shamanic path, in deep training with her teachers there, and, work with NLP and so many different training. She's been trained to facilitate, coach, and heal and with combo and many different modalities and disciplines. And yet, when I ask you what the highest order of how you are touching the planet at this time, you brought it down to the simplicity of just keeping my heart open, loving and touching those around me with the radiance of my heart. What? So many people are like, well, what's your excitement? How are you expressing yourself on the world? The tendency is to go into the specificity of this is what I do, this is what I've learned, this is how I do it. And so, can you speak on to that a little bit? Like, how did you arrive in a place? Because, by the way, guys, where we are right now is in this adorable Turkish countryside village in a stone home. I'm sitting in front of, if you're looking at the YouTube, you can see the video behind me. You'll see these stone walls and beautiful stairs. And on the other side of the video, there's this beautiful 2-story fireplace that's cornered facing out to the mountains. And it's just, little tiny homes all around with this gorgeous Turkish mountainside and 5 or 6 cats, and a dog, and just this really chosen life that is really simple in its choosing to be connected to nature, to be connected to this space, to be connected to the people of this land. And so, what is it that inspired you to bring your body into nature, into a village on your own? And how did you arrive at a place where, that heart light energy is the main event? And where I was going with the village pieces, as we've been journeying around, I've been struck by how much Satya's heart is shining and touching the hearts and lives of everyone that we interact with, from her neighbors walking over to the fence, to the dog next door that she just couldn't help but feed, to the 5 cats that she's adopted since she's been here, to the owner of the Pilates studio that we walked by. It's just, Satya, I really feel the way that your presence is rippling out into each and every moment, when you could say so much about what it is that you do. So what's that journey been like for you to actually distill it down and get comfortable with I just touch people with my heart?
Wow. Just by listening, thank you. Like, my heart opened twice as much. And what I have been discovering, I will distill like how it has been, like what the journey has been like, which is a long story, yet it's in its simplicity, it is the hero's journey, right? Like, back, and I'll get to that. Yet in its simplicity, like, there is nowhere we can get to without actually opening our hearts, if you're really, really willing to, like, going to the depths of ourselves and willing to die. And you and I, we have been really doing this work, but like, when we say we're doing the work, like, we're doing the work, and like a lot of dojo people know this, like, we are doing it. And like, when it comes to a point where, like, okay, like, what is my, like, I'm asking myself, where is my leading edge? And it always have been like really guiding me to my heart and following the heart. Like, I've been like really, asking myself, what does that really mean to follow the heart? And at the end of the question, like, I found myself here. Like, I found myself in many places, yet I found myself here where the actual like full on alignment happened. And it is, for me, I'm also like really the witness of this all entire happening, and really watching myself like, oh, okay, this is what really means. I'm also like really being trained and being the student of the entire, like, the heart opening journey. So to distill how it happened, I actually try to be everything else but myself, like, my entire life. And I call it like becoming Satya, and this entire thing, and it's like the highest aspiration. Like, I think Satya Lights for me is like a really beautiful high frequency that I have infused with so many, like, of my highest values in life. And that is this frequency that, like, I intend, that's like calling. If someone says Satya, it's like, oh, they're calling my highest, so I better align with the heart and open and soften. So from that place, to accept that, to come to that, I had to face a lot of parts of me that like it was, I mean, to its simplicity, it's like a learning to love myself.
Yeah, I hear you.
And yeah, and like coming back home, and
Mhm.
coming back home like literally and figuratively into
Yeah.
the heart and into to Turkey.
Uh-huh. It's
Yeah.
like it reminds me, again, the simplicity of I had to learn how to love myself. And when we identify as the thing that we do, it's like if I'm the combo practitioner, if I'm the medicine woman, if I'm the NLP facilitator, if I'm the this, if I'm the that, all these identities that I can name that I place value in, then when I'm received as the X, Y, or Z that I place value in, the title, then I'm lovable, then I'm safe. And for you, it takes, from my perspective, it takes courage, a lot of courage to arrive at a place where you can say, well, what's your excitement? What do you do? Oh, I love, I
Mhm.
love, I've arrived, I've gone through enough death processes within myself, deaths of all these identities and all these attachments and all of these ideas. Oh my God, I think I just said attachments. That actually works. And
The
all
eye
of these
tag, yes.
attachments, right? To arrive in a place where the identification becomes who I really am with my heart wide open in any given moment. And I trust whatever expression flows through her. And that's what, for everyone listening, I really want you to get. I really want it to land. I want me to get that. I want that to land in me. Right. And so you shared a lot about the name Satya and what that means to you. And I think the last time I saw you before I came here to Turkey, about probably a little over a year ago, was at your name change ceremony. And so Satya is formally known as Sedef. And I would love it if you're open to sharing what that journey was like for you, how you arrived at a place where you decided to claim your chosen name.
Mhm, mhm, mhm. Wow, it is it is such a journey, and it has I feel like when I look back and put two dots together backwards, it looks like it has been a long time coming, and it was like very obvious. And I'm sure like you also get this, like it was like all the little bits and pieces of information that is leading to this now moment where you're like, of course I'm going to change my name.
Yeah. Mhm.
And you actually know that through your heart, like the name has been given to you, like all along it has been walking with you.
Mhm.
Yet when I first received Satya, it was actually, so Satya means truth, truthfulness. And so one of the yamas of like in the yoga teachings. So when I first, like I was studying yoga back, like I was first starting to study yoga back then, it's just like out of everything, Satya was just ching ching, like looking at me. Like, okay, and I had, no concept of like changing names, like or nothing. It just like stood up as some, like beautiful word that meant truth. And I didn't even like, have the little actually definition of like, oh, truth, like truth, right? So over the years, through coming into medicine work, through combo, through ayahuasca, through psilocybin journeys that I went like on myself, like with myself, it's there was a very specific something physical thing that I was actually working on healing, which was my psoriasis. And like it's very interesting enough, psoriasis translation, that like Turkish translation translates to Sedef, which is my name. And Sedef also means the mother of pearl, like the shiny part of the seashell. So, but our brains are association machines, and I'm trying to heal this Sedef on my scalp. And people are calling me Sedef, and I can't help but think about the disease, like, like because it's coded, right? Like it's okay, the shiny, beautiful, like seashell, yet also the disease, like skin disease. And I have it. I happen to have it.
Wow.
And So in one of the ceremonies, I was actually offered this idea of like maybe changing the name. And then in that moment, like the feeling was Satya. And coming back in the integration, actually it came as Satya Lights, which I didn't have the, like the understanding of like, what, I'm going to change my last name also, like what? And I knew like subconsciously, not maybe consciously, but I wasn't really fully living in my truth from my higher self. And I said, yes, like I accept, like it's a great concept to, change my name, because I'm like in the process of healing this from my being, from my body. And it makes sense, but also it makes sense that I'm not fully living in my truth. And how dare I call myself truth if I'm not fully in alignment? And I said, if the time comes, I will know, and that will be the time. And through, like this journey of like going into apprenticeship and like really deep studies with ayahuasca and Shipibo traditions, going into deep dietas and isolation and, like a bunch of different stuff, it's I came to a point where like it was like perfectly, on a golden tray, like this opportunity for me to change my name on a passport, like which, because, like if you actually legally want to change your name, you have to go through this whole court system, right? And it was so easy for me to, and then this officer comes in like, would you like to change your name? And I'm like, let me ask my heart. And I just felt so like, I was like, yes. And right before that, I was in a dieta. I woke up from a dream. It was like this in my consciousness. I was hearing rebirth, rebirth, rebirth. So there was a lot of learning and crumbling down all the programming and like me building my life on a, an illusion. Like, no, I'm not going to say a lie, because it's not a lie. It's just like, not knowing the truth and like believing certain things that will keep me safe in my body through like certain deep traumas. So those traumas were opening and like showing me the truth. And like, I was literally and figuratively like on the floor, dying to what I knew my life was. Everything that I knew that was true was not true. And I was like birthing from that place. And that was how I actually got to change my name. And it was so easy. And and then, you blessed with your being my name changing ceremony as well.
I did. That was such a beautiful experience. And for those of you who are listening that have known me for a long time, I also claimed my chosen name, which is its own very deep and long story. It was a journey of 6 years from the time it came in, the name Zahara, to the time that I actually chose it and claimed it fully. And it truly is an initiation. And I never in a million years ever thought that I would change my name until essentially the moment I did it, and it was a really significant initiation that perhaps on another episode, I'll share the whole story around that. That might be a whole solo episode, but I just really honor the integrity with which you walk, and that it wasn't just a fleeting decision. That, you were sharing about the ease of how life kind of offered it up on a silver platter for the actual passport change to happen, but all the alignment processes that you needed to go through in order to release and watch shed what was not actually a match for the truth of you, in order to receive that which is a major initiation. So what did that look like, right? Like, how did the world of Sadef change relative to the becoming of Satya?
Yeah. Well, it is still, like in the align. I think like after coming to Turkey, like coming to Turkey to really accept the truth of me was like the everything clicked in that moment. Yet until then, everything that was not truth, like it takes a lot of courage to me. Like I'm like, what was I thinking, calling myself truth? Like now, like everything gets, like it's that like frequency alignment before coming all, everything coming to that point until I started like saying yes, like this is my path, and saying yes and going into ceremony, infusing myself with like everything, and like, yes, this is a path I'm walking. And after that, leading up to this now moment, everything that was not truth, like including friendships and, relationships with close family members, like everything that was not true is crumbling. And it is like, there's a lot of grief of my past version, grief of my inner child, like thinking that there was a, certain life that she believed, like, and the in and of itself, like this, I can write a book about this whole thing, which may happen in the future. So yeah, like it's a very detailed, deep process until here. Yet yeah, like Satya opened up so much, and also brought me into this integrity. It's like, am I communicating from my Satya?
Yeah.
Is it Satya?
Uh-huh.
And sometimes it's like, and it's not coming from a place of like bypassing Sedef, like, like sometimes people think when I say I changed my name, it's like, oh, you just couldn't handle your old self, and no, like it's like actually coming to Turkey also was like accepting everything that is Sedef and integrating. So from Sedef, like, that, like, because that was the majority of the journey up to this point. And then like really aligning with Sedef to become Satya, because I could not become Satya if I did not accept all of Sedef. So, Turkey was like that, like actually integration. I would hear people say Sedef, and I would take it as, like, universe is still giving me little signs, for me to really cover that, like, gaps.
1,000%. It's almost as if you had to let go of that which was given, the name Sedef, in order to choose that which is truth for you as a being, truth for you, only to return home to that which was given in the form of Turkey, in order to re-engage with all that had been given, right? And then the Turkey itself gave you Satya, the choice. So it's like this full circle initiation, letting go of the given name, which was given by your parents from the state of consciousness, wherever they were at, choosing the truth, that alignment. From that alignment comes the re-engagement with the roots, right, that were given. And from that given place is the full inclusion of all that you are, which lines you up with actually the true embodiment of Satya. And so now let's talk about that, like coming home to Turkey. I mean, you were living in LA for 15 years. Is that what you said?
Yeah.
For 15 years. So after 15 years in Los Angeles, what was the major catalyst that had you decide, I'm going to move back to Turkey? And then what has it been like? What has it forged in you to really return home to your roots?
Yeah. It happened in stages, actually, like me coming to Turkey. And I think like one of the biggest catalysts for me to come back to Turkey, not like for this past year, it was COVID. After COVID, after going through like one of the, I'm not going to exaggerate, like darkest, night of the souls that I went through. I put everything like, and I came to Turkey for a couple months, which was the longest that I stayed in 15 years, because I was usually like coming back and forth, like visiting family and like, adios, I'm going home. And this time this 2 months, it was like a beautiful connection with my family. We did an epic like Mediterranean road trip, visiting so many different parts of, like where we are right now, actually, like these villages, and swimming in this, like season, like it was actually like for the first time, like me seeing these places, and I'm like, what am I doing there? Like, and like really questioning. And at that time, like what I was working with actually invited me to sit in a ceremony in my grandmother's house, and like really bringing forth all my ancestors and asking their permission to say a different story. I remember that exact moment. And I think like from that point, things started like really like fast shifting for me, manifesting and everything. And, you know, like for me to say this and that, like pinpointing, like you probably understand, like we do a lot of things for that alignment and everything to happen, right? And that like ceremony in my grandmother's house, which also passed that year, I got to spend like really beautiful time with her, the longest time that I spent as an adult with her. And um, before her passing was me really claiming, oh, like I would like to spend more time here in Turkey. Maybe like it can look like me traveling even, you know, like often, more often coming and doing some work here. I remember like my heart's deepest yearning as I had started discovering myself and my voice in the healing process was supporting women. And it looked like supporting women, traumatized women in Turkey. So I was like, maybe I get to, you know, like start working with women in Turkey. So, and in that time, I was going through a big training process, which I'm still in it with medicine. And that was like, oh, like a few years later, a few years down the line, I can come back to Turkey and like, you know, sit on a land and, you know, live here and this beautiful like olive groves and everything, which turned out like literally the next year, which is now like I'm sitting in a village in Mediterranean. And, you know, that was fast. It was a very fast manifestation, yet now I understand the answer of the question of like, how can I open my heart more? How can I become this, like actually claiming the Satya Lights was the answer was like, oh, you get to fully accept who you are, right? And like to accept who you really are, you get to go back to the roots and actually spend time there and actually like feel into the frequency, like actually speak that language. And the, you know, like the start when I started speaking Turkish again, and the resonance like happening in my body, like everything that I studied, now I'm speaking everything in Turkish, like with my clients, with my friends, in the conversations, that resonates differently in the body. And that is actually me accepting and merging with Sedef and like Satya becoming, and that for that root to really root to the Mother Earth, to Anadolu, which is Anatolia, like mother, right? Like this land, which is an ancient land. So for that like power coming like from the root, and like that can open the heart, right? Like for that is the part that is like coming from the roots only that can open the heart. And that was my prayers, the answer of my prayers.
Wow. Wow. That
And
is
from
so
that place,
powerful.
the expansion to the, like, you know, I mean, we're going to get to that.
Yeah, you guys are seeing her, or I'm seeing her. If you're not watching on video, Satya is making the arm gesture of like from her like womb space, the roots coming up, like imagining a tree coming up from the earth. And if you imagine this, like this tree, this backbone coming up through the root of your body, through the womb space, and then just erecting itself, it's going to go right through the heart and strengthen and create this backbone in behind the heart, right? This strength, this solid rooted energy. And then she went like out from the heart and put her arms out. Just, I don't know if you meant to do this, but obviously that's like the branches of the
Heart
tree.
chakra.
But the branches of the tree can only reach out far with sustainability and strength if there's a true sense of rootedness there. Now, this brings up even a lot for me as I'm sitting with my own relationship to my roots and relationship to my own family and trauma points that have been in the process of healing there. And this feeling of like, of home and homeland and the desire to want to spend time at your homeland. And for everyone, it's different, like the reconciliation, right, of your roots. And I do feel for myself, there's some root work that's really important that is continuing to happen and needing to happen. And last night, Satya and I were at dinner, and some of you know from earlier episodes, I have scoliosis and have had a couple of major spinal fusions. And my father this week had a spinal surgery and has been having some back problems. And he had an implant put in his back for pain. And this week specifically, my back started hurting really, really, really bad. And we were sitting at dinner and I was sharing this with Satya and we both really tuned in, and the hit both of us got is that my back hurting as much as it has the last couple of days does feel connected to my father and my relationship with my father and the healing process that, you know, comes through that relationship, and where there's varying levels of stability and feeling of rootedness, right? And so there's this energy that like I really feel that is igniting a desire in me to, it's like stabilize the relationship with the root, and relationship with father is absolutely one of those stabilizing influences. And I wonder if you could speak to this for, you know, I hold the prayer that my relationship with my father continues to heal and move through its process, and that there's rooting and stabilization that happens there that impacts in a good way both of our backs. And you know, when I think of my back, it's like that curvature, it's like a lack of support, right? It's like this instability. And so when I see you in the energy of like this root, right, this tree, this backbone that you get from being on your homeland, when your home country, whether it's with your blood relatives or not, there's this feeling of like, this is who I am, this is all of me. There's a stability in that, there's a rootedness in that that feels like an erect backbone for the heart. And then those branches that is like the way your soul reaches out and touches the planet to reach further and to touch more, because it's connected to a solid center. And so I'm curious if you have any thoughts or channels that come open as I share that, both for those who have, you know, deep relation with their family and can quite literally go home. And also, what about those who, you know, have disjointed relationships with their family of origins, or aren't sure exactly where the homeland is to go home to? Like, is there anything present that you would share for those who desire to connect to their roots and are either in the process of recapitulating and reworking relationships to create a stability with family? But what about, and also what about individuals who have family members who aren't available for that healing? Or you know, has that occurred in your own family system in any way? And you know, in terms of homeland, you know, how would one grow that tree within and reconnect to the roots if they don't have quite as literal of a pathway like you did to like, okay, Turkey is my homeland, I'm going home. So what would you speak on to that?
So what's really coming, this is epic actually, what's really coming, because like considering my story, there's the literal like land and the earth, and you know, like it's like physical experience, right? Yet for us to connect to our roots, like, you know, like a ceremony, like, and very like to in its most simplest way, we can connect to the land, to the root, and ask our ancestors to really support us. We do not like, and you know, we can open the conversation through the ceremony. So I have opened the conversation because like I thought, like by going to Peru and staying in the jungles with the indigenous people, I was, you know, like I was having the conversation of connecting to my roots. And that the conversation opened there, and the answer came later, and we don't really know, like there's not like a, you know, like let's do this, but we can open the conversation with the spirit or the land or the ancestors. Like I am willing to do this work, I am willing to connect, I am willing to, you know, like our root chakra is like earth, like the divine feminine. So like really connecting to that, like, and which is, you know, like usually the, you know, like with the imbalance of the feminine right now on the planet in our times, like the root gets to be really even more connected, right? So like really opening the conversation with our ancestors, because they are actually rooting for us literally to do this work. Now they are actually really celebrating us for us, like showing up and actually saying yes to experience a different experience, which is actually like really rooted in the heart. And once we open that conversation in ceremony and ritual and meditation, let's listen. And through like following those breadcrumbs and the, you know, like the whispers of the ancestors, we can actually, and it can look like for different for everybody, every human, it is different. So like really setting the intention and willingness to really connect with that.
That
You
makes
know,
sense.
like in your experience, there's like so many different, you know, backgrounds, like Polish, Russian, Israeli, right? So it doesn't mean that, you know, like you have to really go to, you know, like Russia to really root there, like to feel that. Yeah, that may be, you know, like a pilgrimage, like you said. Yet Earth is our mother, every corner. And, you know, like once we connect with the spirit, like we can connect to any piece of land with our heart.
Yeah, that makes
Yeah.
sense. I love that. Just getting into the like to the deep, deep listening. You know, one of my dear brothers, he has a really deep connection to Egypt, and he channels Thoth and has, you know, just a really deep heart, soul resonance to that land. But he is half Jewish and half Jamaican, and his technically homeland on this in this incarnation wouldn't be Egypt. But for him, he considers Egypt, based on his relationship to himself and his soul, motherland, his motherland. He's calling it his motherland, you know? And so he just went there a few days ago, and it really does feel to me, I feel like the truth and the resonance for him, it feels like going home for him. And so, you know, I do feel that, you know, I feel a deep resonance with that land, with the Negev, the desert there. And I'm feeling more and more this alignment and resonance with going and spending some real good time there and deepening with, you know, the Hebrew language, you know, and you know, the Jewish mysticism. You know, this is part of my background in really developing my own relationship to the culture, you know, to the culture and to the place and the land and the language, you know, that all does feel highly resonant, while also doing like the familial root work. And a lot of that is listening and timing. You know, often I just want to name with, I've had this experience with plant medicine work, you know, and sitting with grandmother, we get these incredibly powerful signals and visions and healings that occur in this space. And the medicine can take, you know, I've seen this energy of what wants to be healed and what is healing within my patriarchal line. And in some ways, it's like the medicine space can take you into this like 5D instantaneous vision. Boom, I see how it needs to happen. And then, you know, after the ceremony is over, there's the 3D regular waking state of consciousness, physical world reality, and place that each of the family members are at in their own journey, that also requires a lot of patience. It's like everything doesn't need to be, or even can be, done like this right away. It's like we can't rush the physical world reality. So there's also like the power of intention, the power of listening, receiving our vision and our healing, and allowing as much of it to unfold through myself, or you, if you're listening and resonating as an individual. You can do your own work as quickly as is true for you and life allows. But to not then put pressure on family members, you know, to be further along in what you perceive as their healing process than they are in any moment, because who's to say what anyone's journey is supposed to look like? So I'm finding there's also like a patience in my own ideas of what re-engaging my roots and relationship with the family and the origin story is supposed to look like, because it's not about my idea. It's about my alignment and devotion to my intention, being in the deep prayer, showing up and saying yes, and sometimes showing up and saying no, and just allowing the baseline resonance of where I'm at to become an invitation without needing to put pressure on or force the growth that will happen with time. So I'm saying that because we're talking about roots, and that can look like physical location, that can look like family of origin, like physical or familial roots. And when we listen to this episode, and we're gonna inspire people to get jazzed about healing their roots. Well, one timeline is, where's your relationship with Mother Earth, the planet? What's your relationship with Father Sky, with consciousness itself, with spirit, the great Father? And then there's physical, bloodline, mother, father. And that part, I just want to bring a lot of patience and compassion into that zone, because we want to be in a place of really deep pacing without forcing anything, while also holding the prayer and the intention for whatever root healing in that way wants to happen when it can. And the best we can do is show up for that. And so, I feel that witnessing you in this deep re-engagement with the place of your roots has been deeply inspiring for me to do the work that gets to happen through me on another level now, in order to calibrate the relationship to the land, to the great mother, to the great father, to my blood mother, blood father, how the lineage healing is continuing to work through. And a huge part of that is, like, at this juncture, I don't know how it all looks. I'm just really inspired to listen. And I love that advice you gave, that it's really about like opening up the conversation and getting into the listening to your own body, converse with your own root of like, what do I need to get that deeper sense of stability and origin, like anchor within myself, as my heart opens more. And here I've seen you now in a big expansion on a physical world reality level, where I think last time I saw you, you had like 3,000 followers on Instagram, and now you have like 60,000 people flooding in like the course of a month or something. So I'm curious now, this is just, it's, social media is social media, and it also is a physical world kind of like mirror representation for you specifically, Satya, around like life affirming, going global, that is a true path for you. And that occurred while you were here in Turkey. And I'd love for you to just kind of share that story, how that happened, how it is still happening, and what that's been like for you.
It's still happening as we speak.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. So it has been a conundrum. Like I said, I tried to be everything other than my own self. Like I tried everything on. Oh, like this looks nice. Da, 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 da. And then the work in the past couple of years, especially, I would like that. My intention was like, what is my medicine? And like really, taking everybody else's medicine that I took on, right? Like, like even in expression, everything. So that was part of becoming Satya, and like the question and the conversation and the inquiry of what is authentic to me. Like what is authenticity, like really defining, redefining, going like still like each moment I feel like that's like a conversation with me and my universe, like in a moment to moment basis. Yet leading up to this, like how everything that's happening within us is, being reflected outside, right? So the expansion that's happening within me by me saying, I'm going to accept all of me and the truth of me, that is like, like by claiming that is, reflecting in so many different aspects. One is now social media. And I remember saying, and this, like we set intentions, we have visions, we are holding a mission, and like showing up for it day to day, but we don't know how it will show up, like how it will respond, right? So we're just setting the intentions, and we're in the unknown, making love with the unknown, and just showing up to our day-to-day practices. So the expand, like embodying the expansion was my practice, like since I like expansion, like I'm allowing Sedef, and then I'm allowing Satya, and I'm opening my heart. The energy is moving from the root to the heart to the, like, so that's the practice. And I had no idea how it was going to show up. And as far as my work, the conundrum in my space, like for a very long time, was, am I serving in English? Am I serving in Turkish? What is my truth? Like, what is true to me? What is flowing? And it has been for a long time. English is flowing, even, like that channel is flowing, is more true, like, to me. And then, like, coming to Turkey, serving here, connecting with, like my people, like in the healing spaces with, like the modalities, like, I'm like, yeah, maybe I should do this, like, and then, like, still not true. And then the conversation was like, what if accepting all of me looked like I don't have to look a certain way? Like, whatever flows, and I'm going global. That was like the claim. I remember the exact moment. And yeah, like, like the technical stuff to show up like daily, all that stuff is happening. Yes, I'm showing up for the work, like whatever is true, I'm sharing. That was the intention. One of the intentions also. I decided that I'm a poet. Now, like, I'm sharing my poetry. I don't care if anybody doesn't like it. I like it, and I'm going to share it. That fierceness, that accepting my own voice, and like, however way it comes, and it doesn't have to look a certain way, because in our coaching industry, like, it has to look a certain way, and like there's a certain all of it. And I'm like, what if I do not subscribe to any of that and do whatever I want on it? Like, there's still, I'm working with a platform, right? Like with the algorithm and everything, like with the masculine side of, like, we understand that part, but like in that structure, how do I allow my feminine energy and open heart and truth in the moment to come up? And I showed up for it. And that in and of itself, I think it was a testament of, like, the heart frequency and the expansion happening in, like, my land, in this place. Like, when you guys, like, when we look out, like, it's giant mountains and spacious, like, spacious is the word. And that spaciousness is like finding the space in my body, and that spaciousness opening my container to be able to hold more in my work, to reach more hearts, touch more hearts. And that is also, like, translating, like, 60,000 people. I can't imagine 60,000 people in a room, like, when we think about that. And I have reached 1 million people, like, unique people in 1 month. I can't imagine 1 million people. How does it look like from here to there? Like,
Totally. Wow. So this is it's such a wild moment, because it really was like a viral video. Just like this moment that you were not expecting. Like, tell us about the amount of effort that you put into that video that went viral.
So I would like to invite people to actually go to that movie, the least effort, like, morning. It's actually cold. I just arrived to this, like, beautiful village house, and, like, after my meditation, and I have been really connecting with my Sufi roots and practicing, like, this meditation, and like the heart, like this, the heart wisdom. And from that moment, I'm like, I think I'm gonna share this, like, that insight that's coming into my heart. And I'm wearing this, like, white shawl, because I'm like, I just woke up. I didn't even probably wash my face, like, to be completely honest. And, like, sitting, and there's, like, the chickens and the roosters around, like, you can hear that, like, that's just, like, simple heart truth. And that started being, like, people started watching it. And for me, yes, there is the intention. Yes, but it's happening. Like, it's like, it's fast approaching and like spreading this viral thing. And I'm in myself, in my being, I'm watching myself and saying, yeah, like it's gonna end probably. It's been 3 days, 4 days, like it's, like that. And then it's just like multiply. I'm like, what? And in the beginning, it was actually very challenging for me to have that much energy. And like, if we think about the shamanic perspective, the energy perspective, there's eyes, there's energies, other people are like I'm actually inviting that, like open the space. And that the space that's available to a lot of people. Like for me, from my 2,000 people, which are mostly like my, people, like my friends and, like few of my clients, to like it's insane. Like I don't even know how many countries like I have been, like really engaged in, like really studying this people. Yet when it first started happening, I remember days like I was physically very tired. I was like resting. I couldn't, like I invited me to even like be more grounded in my heart, in ceremony, in my intention, and also like started like open the conversation of why am I sharing what I am sharing? Because now it's not like, you're actually like taking responsibility for this influence, because the amount of love I'm receiving, yes, but also like I'm like sharing something, and these people are listening.
Yeah. I'm so glad that they are, because with the medicine that is flowing through you is so felt, and the place that you come from is so pure. And I've just loved deepening with you so much this week, and looking forward to so much more. And the medicine, the poetry that you share, the multidisciplinary expressions that come through you as both a facilitator, a ceremonialist, and also an artist, is just like clearly divinely influenced. And so I feel in my heart really happy that there's more channels for more humans to experience you and what comes through you, through the medium of Instagram, but also may it also occur through many other mediums as well. And I know this evening you're going to be offering a special workshop as well. And I wonder if you'd love to share about that as we start to transition and close out the episode. And I highly encourage everyone to follow Satya. She really brings a lot of purity and love and poetry through her channel. And as we're sharing, one great way to connect with her is through Instagram, and just really feel, on days that she's sharing. I know for me, I really enjoy just receiving a dose of you. So I'd love for you to share a little bit about what you're offering tonight. So if anybody listening wants to experience you in a workshop firsthand, a digital workshop, they can.
Yeah. So it is actually like, as we believe, like you're a part of it. Everything is a ceremony. So it's an online ceremonial experience where we're opening the space for people to experience whatever it is that, comes up. So like the intention to, really from a compassionate place to hold them, to without teaching anything, yet opening space for them to remember who they really are. And I do like highly believe that if it's not a skill, if it's not a skill set, we do not really need to learn anything anymore. Like that, like the books and the guru, like we do not really need to follow the gurus and the books and the, like all of that. Like when we actually have the capacity, which, like that takes work, to be able to come to the heart and like learn the ways in which that our hearts is offering the infinite wisdom, that we do not really need to learn anything. So that is my intention by opening the space, like to bring people into a place of like full circle death and rebirth, and coming into the heart space from that point, whatever it is that is like in their field, to be revealed through many different modalities. Like this is what I'm teaching, it's called I am that, like it's coming from I am that I am, right? Like, and I also like really claiming and empowering people for their vision, to own their vision. I am that woman, and from that I am that woman, I'm that man, to I am that I am, I'm everything. So it's like a full cycle of like remembrance and expansion and healing and manifestation also, like with the embodiment of all of this in a practice. And within this practice, you know, we just intent whatever wants to come forth for them. And it's usually like the feedback has been really, you know,
Oh,
humbling for me.
uh-huh.
And I'm really excited. It's one of my like highest excitements to offer this to people and actually, you know, like watch their, you know, like final like face, like how they walk into the space and how they leave the space. It's transformational, and I love watching that. And I know how it feels like to watch people like in this going into the ceremony, out from the ceremony. Like these are, you know, like it's a privilege and an honor as a healer, right? Like as a space holder, as a facilitator, to be able to see this. And I'm getting ready to actually offer that tonight.
Yay. I love that you're sharing, you know, I love reminding people that there's nothing more you have to learn when you're resting in the seat of your heart.
Yeah.
That there's, wow, there's such a relaxation in that. Like when you're actually rooted into your own heart's wisdom and your heart is wide open and you're being guided from there. It's like if the guidance then is to, you know, add a tool, a technique, or a skill, amazing. But there's not, it's not like coming from a pressure. Like, you know what to do when you're anchored in your heart. You know how to share your voice. You know how to love. You know how to receive. You know how to just be with what's here when you're resting truly in the heart, and the mind isn't in the space of worrying, trying to figure it out or strategize or control or whatever in order to do more, learn more, X, Y, Z more, just so I can feel safe or in control or however it looks. But actually remember, like unlearning and just unwinding into the space of the wide open heart and allowing the love, the force of love that is flowing through you in any moment. It's like removing everything that isn't that. And then when you remove everything that is not that, you become, that's the name, I am that, I'm that, I'm that, I'm connected to it all from the place in my heart. And I really trust the greatest learning, the greatest education is becoming connected to your own heart and acting from there.
Yeah.
Right. And so really inspiring creation. And it just felt so good to me to receive your medicine. This episode for me has been, not only this episode, but this week together has been just so right on time, you know, and very inspiring and moving. Like I feel my whole system is like, has had time to like rest, almost like you would sink into the earth. And like, you can imagine laying on the grass long enough, you like leave an indent. I feel like I'm leaving an indent here. Like my whole nervous system just kind of sunk in. And when you speak and share about the journey, it's coming from such a heart-centered place that I really feel like I can just sink into it. So thank you for bringing your voice and your heart. And I'm here to walk with you and dance with you in all the ways. So why don't you let everybody know where they can find you?
Wow. I'm only using Instagram. I was, and it's Satya Lights, at Satya Lights.
Easy.
And yeah, like, and there's all the links and all the stuff for my work if they're interested. Yeah, thank you.
Great.
And I have like greetings to all of the dojo people.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
So much love and heart from Turkey, from the heart of Turkey.
Oh yeah, definitely the heart of Turkey talking right now.
Yeah.
All right, Dojo family, thank you so much for bringing your ears and your hearts here. And I look forward to seeing you next time.